Have you ever felt like you're way undercharging and not getting paid what you're worth? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about exactly why you should be charging way more money and how to do that. Okay, so this is going to be the moral case for selling expensive big ass ticket stuff. Let's get into it. So before we dive into the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You hit the bell notification because I'm dropping bombs on you guys, all right? So anyway, enough of that. Let's get right into the content. So I have a few really great examples of clients that I've worked with over the past few years that have gone from selling kind of low ticket stuff to selling big ticket packages. And so one of them was Kevel. So Kevel was an old client of mine who he has an SEO agency. And when we first started working together, he said, oh, I don't think anyone will pay more than $2,000 per month. He was making around $12K total in his business. And I said, Kevel, I think you might be wrong about that, but let's just try. And so I remember when he got his first 2K client, which is like a for him, it's like, wow. And then he got his first 3K client per month. And then he got a 5K per month retainer. And then out of nowhere, he got a 15K per month retainer. And then we thought, just when you couldn't do any better, he got a person paying him $25,000 per month for his SEO service. And then that person referred him to other people to pay $25,000 per month. And so Kevel's business just took off like a rocket ship. I have the case studies on my old YouTube channel. I'll probably link them somewhere. But now Kevel's consistently doing $200,000 per month with his agency. He works like 3 hours a day. It's basically all hands off. And so I want to share with you some of the major insights, some of the major frameworks of how we were able to create a shift like that for Kevel. And I've done that for so many other clients. I don't have time to go into them, okay? So grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. We're going deep. So the very first principle is, does your price match the promise? Does your price match the promise? Okay, so if you're saying, hey, I can grow your business to 7 figures a month, and then you're charging $1,000, that's kind of like you walking down the street of New York and some guy walks up to you and opens up his jacket and it's all full of like watches. It's like, hey, do you want a Rolex? $100. The person, you in this case, are going to be like, well, what the hell's wrong with it? It's clearly fake. You're clearly full of shit. You don't walk into the Rolex store and be like, hey, can I have a $100 Rolex? They'd be like, no, they're like 20 grand. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, so you gotta make sure that your price and your promise are aligned. Nobody expects you to be the best if you're not charging the most. So a lot of people think that they have to stair step their way up in price, and that is just completely false. There's no rules, there's no laws saying that you can't just go right to the top. Of course, I wanna make the big caveat clear. I'm not just saying that you should charge the most amount of money if you suck, but if you're genuinely good. Like a lot of my clients came to me and they had the results, the social proof, everything backing them up, but they didn't have the mentality of how to charge for more, and that was the real limiter. Okay, so if you're the person who like, I don't even know how to get results, turn off this video right now. But if you're actually good at what you do, keep watching. Okay, so again, to reiterate, make sure the price matches the promise. Number 2, so if you're not charging a really high ticket price, the only reason why is because you haven't given people the opportunity to do so. All right, there are people out there, no matter what niche you're in, who would pay way more for what you've got, right? There's people out there, if you were selling fitness, maybe you sell a $500 fitness package to Joe Blow down the street, but if you had Elon Musk come up to you and he said, hey, I need to drop 60 pounds, I gotta get ripped, I'm trying to catch up with Jeff Bezos. I'm not sure if you saw Jeff Bezos lately, but he's looking all diesel, you know. He's like, I gotta look better than him. I'll pay you whatever. And you might say, okay, $500K. And you'd be like, that's it? I shit $500K. Here you go, boom. And you'd be like, whoa, it's the same offer, different prospect. Okay, so if you had a high enough ticket offer, there are people out there who would buy it. That's number 1. And really, the other thing is, I was talking to my buddy David, and David just sent me this video that they send to all their prospects. It's a pre-framing video so that when they show up to the call, they're ready to buy. And he said, hey, look, this is the video that we send, 4 minutes long, and this is what happened. Within the first week of using this video, they closed $560,000 worth of revenue over 2 years, plus 10% rev share. So it's gonna be an absolutely enormous deal for him, because really he's just a closer right now for a guy named Brody Lee. But the whole thing is, they charge very, very high ticket. 1, because yes, they can get results, but 2, really what he told me is that charging an extremely high ticket, like 6 figures plus, it's more about having like balls of steel than being the very best at what you do. All right, so a lot of this just goes into your own confidence. Now, principle number three is you want to make your price aspirational. You don't lower your price so that you can work with everyone. Think of Lamborghini, think of Ferrari, think of luxury brands out there. You don't say, well, why doesn't Lamborghini have like a $50,000 Lamborghini so that I can have the same one? No, you want to make enough money one day so that you can buy it. There are people out there that if they were to offer coaching with them, even if it was $1 million, you would be like, wow, one day I wish I could pay him $1 million. Let's say that you're the #1 Alex Hormozi fan. So Alex Hormozi says, hey, you work with me $1 million one-on-one for a year. You'd be like, well, I'm gonna find the money. One day I'm gonna make enough money to work with him. You know, Dan Kennedy was a great example of this. Whoever you think of, if I could work with that person and they charge whatever amount of money, I would want to be able to buy from them. Basically what you can do is have a price so high where you make it people's goal that one day they could work with you. That's when your personal branding and your content and your whole business, you know that it's on point, when people are like saving up money to work with you. And really, what are we doing when we're charging people high ticket? You might say, I don't feel good about doing that. But what happens when somebody invests a large amount of money through you? Let's say you charge $50,000, $75,000, $100,000. It doesn't matter. What you're doing is you're giving someone the opportunity to invest in themselves through you. That's what we're always doing. It doesn't matter if you're selling a $50 thing, a $5,000, $50,000. You're really helping someone make the bet on themselves, and they're doing it through you. You're the vehicle, but at the end of the day, it's always about them. And so you have to bring it back to that on the call. And there's techniques and strategies on how to do that. I might go into those in this video, but really we want to make sure that our mentality is correct about price in general. Okay, so principle number 5 is messaging. All right, messaging. Messaging is the key to pricing. We want to make sure that we are attracting a whale with our content, not the fish, not the guppies. Okay, so a lot of selling high ticket, the key is not what you say on the call, it's the messaging before the call. How are they pre-framed? How are we targeting the right people? Are we getting the right people on our calendar? That is really priority number 1. You can have the best sales process in the world, but if you're attracting homeless people, it's not gonna help very much, will it? Okay, so we gotta make sure your messaging is aligned. And one of the biggest mistakes I see is like a business coach. You know, I was talking to this girl and she is really thinking that she has a sales problem. She's like, I'm only closing 30%. I'm like, okay, well, let's look at your marketing, and everything is about making 10K per month. So she's targeting like the baby turtle coaches. And the problem is when you talk about money, this is your messaging. Hey, I'll help you make more money. We're only going to attract people who need more money, broke people. Okay, so we got to think, okay, what is a problem that somebody who is, let's say, making 20K per month has, or somebody who's making 100K per month? It's not just the money. Okay, so maybe it's they're overwhelmed with their team, or they don't know how to get their team to perform, or maybe they're getting so many leads that they can't handle them all, and that leads are slipping through the cracks. Okay, so we want to target problems that a rich person has. Before going on, comment below, what is your price right now, and where would you like it to be? If you could just charge anything in the world, something that would just blow your mind, what would it be? Let me know below. And if you're wondering, hey, how do I find leads who are able to pay more money? I made a lead generation video not too long ago, went into everything that's working right now. I'll link it up here somewhere, and then check that out after this video. Now here's one of the most important principles that kind of ties back into one of the last ones, and that is that pricing is one of the primary attractors of the right people and repellents of the wrong people. Okay, so you will never convert a McDonald's buyer into a Michelin 5-star restaurant buyer. It's not possible. You never convert someone who shops at Louis Vuitton into a Walmart buyer, or vice versa. They're two separate beings. They're two separate species. And so if we want the big boys, we have to only focus on them. Just know this, if you charge, let's just say $50,000 and everyone else in your market charges $20,000, you think that everyone will go to the 20K person. You're like, oh, well, they charge less than me. It's not true. There are people that will only work with the most expensive person because they automatically assume 2 things. Number 1, this person is good at what they do, or number 2, at least they're confident as hell. And guess what? Successful people want to work with people that are confident and good at what they do. And I have a really funny example of this. One of my clients, his name's Josh. He helps people get into the government, the federal market, okay? Josh, his average client gets ridiculous results, okay? Ridiculous results. They ended up making like $950,000 in their first year after they get into the market and they start landing these big government contracts. And I was initially talking to Josh and I was like, okay, so what are your prices? And he goes, well, I charge $9K and then I have an accelerator, which is like $18K. And that one's like the expensive one. So we don't really pitch that. And I'm just like, okay, and your average client gets how much money? And he goes, $957,000. I'm like, okay. What's your best client result? He goes, oh, we got one guy who made 25 million. I'm like, and you're charging what? And he goes, oh, well, there's other competitors. Like one guy charges 20K, so we're just like right under, so they'll pick us. And it pains me to think about now because I know that I've been trying to get him to double, triple, quadruple his price. And so if we think about the average result, we can track down to the numbers. Hey, if you work with us, on average, you will make up $950,000. The price of your offer should be at least 10% of that, if not more. 10% to 25% of the result that you can give them. And so I'm like, Josh, please, for the love of God, charge more. If you're not going to charge $90,000, at least charge 50, at least charge 40. There are people out there where, one, we have to understand that the way that we buy is not the way that other people buy. For you, what's a lot of money for another person is literally, it's like the dust on their shirt, right? Like there's people out there that make millions per day and we're still charging based on our tiny paradigm, our point of view. And this is the biggest problem that happens to all of us. Okay, and so if you could show someone, hey, if you work with us within 12 months, our average client gets to $950K, and then you're only charging $9K, that is like the reddest of red flags for them. They're like, well, why is it so cheap? Does it even work? Like, I don't know, let's just go to this other guy. So if you were like, yeah, it's $75,000, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, boom, 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 and you show them the numbers, they would be like, oh, okay, cool, let's do it. They would be way more bought in at the higher price. The price is matching the promise. And this goes into the next principle in that it's just as easy to sell something that's expensive as it is to sell something that's cheap. And oftentimes it's much easier to sell expensive things. And you might say, well, like, why is that? Well, people that are buying cheap stuff tend to be cheaper people. So they will have to think about it and it's a lot of money to them. And they're like, okay, like this has to work. I'm going to give you my last $500. You better give me a guarantee that this is going to work. And I want to talk to 3 of your last clients. And you better send me like a tax return of the money that your clients have made. And you better like give me a blood sample. Like these people are lowlifes. Okay, they have no faith in themselves. And so they're complete assholes to work with anyway. Someone who's rich or successful, they understand the value of investing. And if you can just clearly show them logically why they're going to make your money back, why this is going to work, they're just like, okay, done, boom, cash is in your bank account. The people that work with me one-on-one, I've never had a sales call with them. Never, except for Josh, but he was a referral to me from my boy Lucas because Lucas is 20, I trained him in sales, and then Lucas closed Josh on a VSL, and Josh was like, where did you learn how to sell? And he's like, oh, this Byrne guy. But anyway, I've never had a sales call because the people that I work with are just like fast decision makers. And so it's much easier to sell something to better quality people, right? So make sure that you're attracting good people. This goes back to the messaging. Principle number 8 is this: people that pay more, commit more. This is pretty common knowledge in the high ticket space, but I want to really demonstrate it to you. And so my buddy Abris, I did a coaching call with him on my channel. I'll link it up here. Abris sells expensive, quote unquote, expensive fitness training. So he charges around like 4,000 euros. Okay, and Abris is a young dude. He's like 22. And so for him, that's a lot of money. But, you know, when someone's coming to him and they're saying, like they're thinking, should I pay this guy 4,000 euros? I said, Abris, don't try to justify your value. So a lot of closers, a lot of business owners will be like, well, it's worth it because of this and that and this and that. I would just throw it back onto the prospect. And I would go, hey, Mr. Prospect, call out the elephant in the room. You could easily go down the street to a gym and just work with a local trainer for 60 bucks an hour? How would you justify spending 4,000 euros with me when you could just go down the street and do that? Because that's the objection that will come up anyway. So I want to know, because he's like, yeah, that's a good question. I don't think I can. And then he's gone. But if really what will happen is he'll go, well, I guess I would be more committed. I would definitely show up if I invested that much versus just, buying another course online or working with Joe Blow trainer down the street, right? And so this is the universal principle, guys. If we pay attention. If we pay, we are more likely to get the results because we're invested. Simple as that. The other thing is that when you have a really high price, and I suggest that you have your main price, but you also have one that's 10 times higher than your main price. So I think everyone should legitimately have like a 40K offer, a 50, 75, 100K offer. And at the very least, it supports your closing. It supports having an environment of enrolling versus closing. I made a video on this as well up here, but enrolling is where you're really qualifying them. They're selling you on why you should work with them. But one of the reasons why you should have a high ticket offer, like a premium high, like a super high ticket, like a 100K thing, is because when you're talking to someone, you can say, okay, well, I have a few offers. I have this one thing, which is like $100,000. I don't think that it's appropriate for you and where you're at. Based on our conversation, I think it would probably make more sense to go with like the 20K package. And then it's like a downsell. And like it sounds cheesy and it sounds like that's like manipulative. But there are people out there that their tactic is doing this basically. Okay, so I have a 100K thing, and based on our conversation, I don't think it makes sense for you to do that one just yet because that's all the bells and whistles. And based on where you're at, I think it probably makes sense to go with the 20K package because of boom, 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 which would be way more appropriate for you. And then they basically close them on like a 20K thing, but they anchored way high at this $100,000 package. But they're like, what? I don't have 100K. Yeah, that's why we should do 20. And they're like, okay, well, I can like figure that out. Is that manipulative? Hey, I'm not here to be the police of how you sell your shit. I'm just saying that is an option that people do, okay? Don't shoot the messenger. Just to circle back to how a high price supports an enrolling environment, if you charge premium, like really high ticket, then you can just say, listen, because I charge this much, I don't work with everybody. I legitimately give way more attention, way more feedback, accountability to my clients, so therefore, I'm very selective with who I work with. And so you can really approach the conversation like if they are just applying to work with you. It's not like a sales conversation where you're there to listen to all their crybaby problems. It really changes the dynamic of you mentally when you have a very high ticket price. Now, the one mindset trick, the one thing that will help you do this, so sit down, grab a pen and piece of paper, sit down and write down 10 reasons why the value of what they're paying you is 10 times more than the price of what you're charging them. And then really sit down and believe it, because the truth is, you can probably really help people. One of the things that I do is call up my old clients and just say, hey man, how's it going? How's business? Awesome, cool, love to hear that. Hey, I'm curious, knowing what you know now and getting the results that you've gotten working with me, would you pay the same price or possibly even more? Knowing what you know now? And they go, oh man, I would pay 10 times more. Like, it's crazy that you only charge me this much. Okay, and like, would you recommend my services to somebody else if they needed the same thing as you? 100%. And what does that do? That gives you your mojo back. Sometimes we can get into ruts where they're like, we've heard a few no's, like nobody's gonna buy from me ever again. And when you talk to your old clients and then you write down a list of all the reasons of why your price is worth 10 times what you're charging, it gives you back that confidence, that self-esteem where you're like, I am that guy, you know? And really, if we want something tactical, if you want a tactical way to justify the value of your price, the two most common ways are obviously ROI. If you can help somebody bring in new leads, grow their business, there's ROI. Hey, how much more money would you make if you could close at 40% compared to 20? Okay, so you're saying that's an extra 20K per month, 240K per year. Gotcha, you really believe that? Yeah, amazing, okay, cool. And then the other one is cost of inaction. Okay, and so what has this problem cost you in your business? not being able to close at this much. Oh man, like 40K per month. Yeah, when it's like I sell a 10K thing, I have 15 calls a week, and that's this amount of leads, I close this much. So yeah, let's just say conservatively I'm losing 40K per month. Like damn, and how long has this been going on? At least the past 6 months. Gotcha, so this is basically cost your business 6 times 40. What is that, 24K, $240,000 in the past 6 months. Yeah. Okay, well, if I could help you solve that, would it be worth investing 10%? What's 10%? 24K. Oh, dude, 100%. It would change my life. All right, well, let's do it. So there you have it, guys. Now you know the case why you should be charging way higher prices, and you have a few tactics and strategies on how you can do that. So now the next question is, well, how do I close these leads? What should I do to step by step to take them from I don't know to here's my credit card? That's exactly why I put together a free training on how you can close as much as 80% of your leads so that you can get the money and freedom to travel the world, to grow your business, to enjoy life a bit more. And so if you want that, there should be a link in the description below. And if you got value from this video, again, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss anything, and check out this next video, which is all about how to pitch your offer and close people on these prices. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys. As always, you be great. I'll see you in the next one.